Halifax. That's awesome. All right, guys, it's we're almost at time. We have like a minute to go, so we'll give it a minute. Memphis. This is awesome. Fantastic. All right, so we're at time, and I'm gonna do a quick kickoff and an intro. So everyone, hi again. I'm Naimisha, founder and creator of Products by Women. Thanks again for joining us on a Wednesday evening to learn about product and how to pivot into product. It's such a hot topic, and I guess we've never had enough of this. And it's always that one of those conversations we wanna get more of. Before we begin, some housekeeping. Actually, even before the housekeeping, I really wanted to thank Brianna, Angela, and the entire team of General Assembly for partnering with us for this event. Brianna, I'd love for you to kind of jump in and say a few words before me and Anu kick off this event.
I'm muted. Awesome. That's always fun. Zoom reminder. Thank y'all for letting us be a part of this event. My name's Brianna, and I manage events and workshops at General Assembly. As I posted in the chat, I'm also based in Austin, Texas, and I just love to share a little bit about General Assembly and what we do. So we are a global tech education company focused in the most in-demand skills, primarily within business, data, design, and technology. And our mission is to empower individuals to do what they love. And we do that in a few different ways. We offer immersive courses for those looking to make career changes. We have part-time courses for those looking to level up. And we have short-form workshops and free community events almost every day, currently 100% remote. But we do have almost 40 campuses around the globe and hope to start running in-person events and classes very soon, as once everyone feels it's safe. We value our safeties first over that. So I think though in the next few months, we'll start getting back to in-person. So if there's a GA campus near you, we'd love to see you then. We're turning 10 at General Assembly this year, which we're very excited to celebrate. And we are doing so with a bunch of events and celebrations. And very excitingly, we're offering a pretty nice discount on our evening and 1 week courses. So if you're interested in something that you've been eyeing, you can definitely check that out at ga.co/10, and you have to enroll by the 10th. A lot of other upcoming things at General Assembly that I just wanted to share, many of them with Products by Women, but some free events that we have that I wanted to call out are the product two-step on September 13th. We have debunking product management myths with Demisha on the 15th. Coffee and Connect, which is just a really fun, casual virtual networking session on the 24th. And then October, Demisha is actually going to give a really awesome talk to our community on the fundamentals for aspiring product managers. And as a thank you for joining us, I would love to give y'all a 50% off code to some of our upcoming workshops, and I dropped a few in this slide that may be interesting to y'all. That's all for me. So I'd love to pass this back over, and thanks again for letting us collaborate on this event.
Thank you so much, Brianna. And for those of you who missed that information, don't worry. We'll be sending this information to you, and we'll be sharing a recording of the session. So sit back and relax and enjoy the chat. And yeah, some more housekeeping tips. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat box, and we will try to get to them at the end of the session if we have time. We also do have a bunch of collab opportunities at Products by Women, including speaking at upcoming events. If you'd like to share your story, inspire a lot of women around the world. If you'd like your story published, work in our core team, or join our board, yeah, we'd love to kind of chat and learn more. Do reach out to us at info@productsbywomen.com. With that, I'd like to welcome Anu. Anu, welcome so much, and thank you for this time. This is the second time you're joining us, and it's always a pleasure to talk with you. I want to kick off this conversation by talking to you about what's your journey been. I know you have a very amazing background from a non-technical role into product management, and you've done an MBA. So just share a little bit about yourself and tell us how have you gotten to Squarespace?
Yeah. So my journey into product is a little bit by chance kind of thing. So I was so in India. I started my career as a software engineer, but more on the data side, not an hardcore coding role, but more around the like business analyst and proper analyst role, and even data engineering side. And oh, over years I really wanted to get into the business side of the world. So I'm like, okay, you know what, why don't I do an MBA is a good step to learn those business skills, and that got me into US for my MBA. And during that time, when I joined my MBA, that was a time when consulting and iBanking were the two top roles where everyone was what everyone was getting into right after MBA. And that's when I actually, and product management was just peaking at that point of time. It was starting to get attention, and that's where I got closer to it, got some idea about it, and I really found it interesting. And then that's how I actually transitioned into product management. So it was technically by chance, but I think when I look back, when I was working in India, I do I did work on so many projects where I was technically working as a product management, but I didn't know about that. And but after my MBA, since I didn't have a very formal product management experience, I made a conscious effort to work at a very like small companies, like early stage startups, so that I can wear multiple hats. Smaller companies like On Deck, where I got to work in multiple different roles. So where I got to learn different skills, and which really helped me to get into a Squarespace after that. But yeah, that's my journey into product management.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about, your journey into Squarespace. I mean, I know you were working at On Deck, right? And what was your preparation to get to Squarespace from On Deck? I mean, what were some resources you used? How long did you study? How many jobs did you apply to? How did you prepare to get to Squarespace?
Oh my God, that's a big question. I was there at On Deck for almost 4 years. And when I was at On Deck, there were a couple companies that I was keeping an eye on. I had always loved Squarespace products. So if you can see the canvas behind, I do painting during my pastime, and I always in future want to grow my own portfolio. And Squarespace has always been a website product which I would want to use when I'm launching that portfolio. And it's always like, as a product person, it's your dream to work for a company whose product you love. And I think that's where the Squarespace came into picture. For this, it was surprise. I would say fortunate that the recruiter reached out to me directly at the LinkedIn. But usually, when I am open for recruiting or looking for jobs, I usually update my LinkedIn saying that I'm open for roles, so that any recruiters can my profile can show up in their search, and they can reach out to me. Usually I've seen that networking helps, but many times networking doesn't help. And if that doesn't help, um, please mass recruit, mass application. But I think it's also important that that gives you help in interviewing. But when you're actually selecting a company where you want to join, I don't think mass application is going to help, because then you need to make a conscious effort whether you're a good fit, whether this is the right role that you want to get into. And that's the preparation you have to do. Now, if you have those interviews, the resources, I think for me, my I would say there are two Bibles, I would say, for the PM recruiting. One is Jackie Bavaro's How to Crack into Product Management, and the Lewis Lind's Decode and Conquer. I think everybody abide by those books. And I think there's another book which came by Lewis as well, which is around product management, 100 product management questions or interview questions. That also helped me. But yeah, I think those are the ones. And I always recommend doing a lot of mock interviews. And there are some free websites which allows to connect other people who are already recruiting to practice those interviews, especially those product case interviews, product design interviews. Sometimes even some companies like Google also have technical interviews. So doing those kind of mock help you prepare for that. So those were some of the things, resources that I always used.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. And we'd love, I mean, if after this chat, when I'd love for you to share those resources so we can send it to everybody here or those who couldn't attend live. So what does your day look like at Squarespace? How do you start your day? What does a regular day look like at Squarespace as a product manager?
Uh, it it wouldn't be wrong if I just say it's all meetings, meetings, and all meetings, honestly.
Yeah.
Uh, but if I have to describe a day and what those meetings are usually, so at Squarespace we follow Marty Kagan's empowered model or inspired model, whichever you want to say, where they suggest you have a discovery track, you do product discovery, and through those discovery you solve a user problem, and then keep testing and iterating on it, and then you know that you have a solution that solved that problem. So when we do that, usually if we are kicking off that discovery track, and those discovery track, we recommend to, it's recommended that you have one discovery track for every product. And at Squarespace, I have two product areas that I lead. So at one point of time, I could be running two discovery tracks. So it can get really busy. But if I'm kicking off any discovery track, the initial first 2 days of the week are really investing in running those workshops and around like brainstorming and reviewing that what user problem are we solving, reviewing all the insights that we have gathered that support that user problem, so that everyone who is part of that workshop is on the same page that what is happening. And then we actually brainstorm what different hypotheses are there, or what assumptions are there, or what could be happening. And then we prioritize those. So it's more like those workshop session, discovery workshop sessions. And by the end of it, we have some kind of a prototype that the designers would go and prototype, or the solution we would have, which they will prototype so that we can launch those tests. It could be user test, or it could be an A/B test, whatever we think is the most appropriate a way of experimenting. And the later half of the week is usually in around like some of the one-on-ones that I would have with my team members. So I'm like mostly checking in what's happening with the teams. I would have some of my one-on-ones with my with stakeholders, other product orgs, so that it allows me to be aligned with what's happening across the org, and we could leverage that, what find what's other synergies we could are there, so that we can leverage in our product area as well. And then of course you have all those org wide, department wide. So I think again, all in all, it's all meetings. And meetings, we are some are working meetings, some are networking meetings, some are just like chit chat session. But yeah, that's all.
That's awesome. And then let's unpack this piece a little bit. Speaking about skills, right? Like as a product manager, you need leadership skills, you need like technical skills, you need design skills, you need like almost any skill that requires to actually get a product to market. But if you were to do a deep dive on the skills that help you to be successful in your job, what would you say are the top skills you need?
So the skills question is really tricky, and I'll tell you why. The answer to that question, it all depends. And it depends because the product management role has grown so much over these years. There are a lot of mini specializations, sub-specializations that have started happening in different companies.
Yeah.
It started as a very generalist role where, oh, you know what, you need to have some kind of skills for everything. But right now, since there are a lot of sub-specialization, um, the skills answer really depends. Like for instance, if you are getting into a platform product management role, you would need very heavy technical skills so that you can interact. You would be working more with engineers, more with other engineering team, different team which support engineers as well, and you need to talk their language. If you are on the data side of the product management, you need to understand data management, all the softwares, all the analytical software, and so many things. So I would say it depends. In my case, I had some technical skills already since I started with software engineering. I had some, I had an engineering degree as well. So I had those basic skills. And of course, I cannot say that I'm technically adept, honestly, because since that time, technology has advanced so much that right now, if I go back, it's like, what's happening? I don't even know anything. I will not say myself I'm a very technical, proficient product manager, but in the start, it did help me. It helped me to like at one point of time, I could actually read code if I have to go into the code, but I would still need an engineer or somebody to help me understand some of the nuances of those things. Um, but again, in my thing, I started as a journalist, worked in different roles. I worked in a technical role, which was very much platform driven. I worked on the front end role. I worked on a strategy focused role. So all those different roles that I've worked so far has allowed me to learn different skills, and also allowed me where actually I want to focus on. And I think that's why when I was joining Squarespace, I made a very conscious decision that what kind of role I want to get into. I was very much that I want to get into more consumer focused role. I knew that. And that's also because I had those skills, and I observed that I was better at those skills, and more on the analysis side. So that's why my role at Squarespace is very much growth driven, where you require all those analytical skills and UX skills and everything. But all in all, I would say it still depends, and I would encourage everyone, when you're actually applying for all those roles, please do some research on that what that role is, and have those skills ready. But if I have to pick one, which has helped me throughout my product career, is the SQL skills or data analytical skills, because I believe in one thing, is that without every product manager should know how to analyze their own product area, because if you cannot, you're dependent on other. Like, there would be so many times where you would have to go and get your hands dirty into those SQL queries and be able to pull those data. If it's not SQL query, maybe it's Tableau, maybe it's Amplitude, maybe there are other dashboards, but you should know how to analyze those things. So I would say that would be some of the skills from the hard skills. And of course, I know you highlighted some of the soft skills. For me, if you're an early PM career, communication and stakeholder management is on top. But as you have more years of experience and you're a senior PM or beyond, influencing or leadership is really important. Like, as a PM, you should know that you don't have much authority, so you need to keep influencing, keep pitching that what your idea is, and get those ideas like bought in.
I love that advice. No, I mean, I think I cannot stress upon data skills. And I think everyone in this room, whether you're an aspiring product manager or you're a product manager who's not honed in on their data skills, go take a course, practice. And I think it's extremely important. With that, I want to shift gears a little bit, Anu. So, you have an MBA, from a really, analytical standpoint, if you were to step back and see how your growth has, been as a product manager, do you think your MBA was helpful in career progression?
That's a good question, and I think this is a very debatable question, which I've seen from a lot of people. In my personal experience, it did help me, and the reason was I was looking to up on my business skills. When in India, I didn't have any business skills, any leadership skills, and when I joined MBA, that allowed me that. In addition, I didn't have a network coming to US. MBA degree and the MBA school allowed me to open to those networks as well. However, I've seen great product managers who don't have an MBA skill, MBA degree, and yet they are amazing product managers. So I think, again, the answer is, I know nobody likes it, but it depends. It depends what skills are missing in you. What do you want to get out of it? In my case, it helped me to transition into product management very easily. For some, and at that point of time, product management was not that much, I would say, popular the way it is right now. Like, as I was pointing out, when I was doing my MBA, iBanking and consulting were the two top tier career paths. But now, as I'm looking into the industry and those business schools, product management is on top, and which really says it a lot. So now, if you're in any company, every company has product manager. And I've seen many people transitioning into product management within their companies. So there are, hence, I would say MBA is not the only path. And of course it's expensive. So I would so you have to make that call. What is it that you're looking to get out of MBA?
Thank you for sharing your thought. You know, I'm going to try something different. I wanted to ask you, okay, let's debunk some product management myths. I'm going to put some words out there, like some phrases, and I want you to say the first few things that come into your head. All right.
Okay.
So, number one is you're the CEO of your product.
No, not at all. CEO has authority. I don't have any authority on my product. I'm just helping get through stuff, right? Engineers are working on the code and building that product. Designers are working on designing, and there are other teams who are working on other things. What do? I'm just cruising along and helping it get to that finish line. So, unfortunately, I don't have the authority, so I cannot call myself a CEO.
You need to have an engineering background.
Not really. No. I have seen, again, it all comes down to what kind of role you're getting. I would say Google is the very good example. Google, Facebook, and all these companies are very good example where they just don't recruit only engineers for product management role. Like I've seen people with history background who are doing PM at Google or even Facebook, right? Which kind of says that no, you don't need to have engineering skills, engineering degree to get into product management.
Awesome. And then this one, I want to unpack. So maybe, yeah, yeah, let's talk about this, right? Um, it's one of the highest paying roles
Mm-hmm.
in an organization.
Maybe, may not be. It depends. Some companies, again, I'm not an HR, so I really don't know the entire pay scales. Whatever I would know is all the research that I've done.
Yeah.
So in some companies it could be, but I don't think so. Like engineers would always be would be more would be paid more, and of course because they're building on something. But again, it depends company to company.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I really want to spend a minute kind of talking about, your toolkits when it came to negotiation. And this is a segment, I mean, this is the part and segment that we've started to kind of unpack a little bit. What is some research, during your pivot into Squarespace? What are some tools you use to kind of understand pay scales better, salary ranges better, perks better, benefits better, to well equip yourself with those negotiation conversations? Because oftentimes women don't go equipped into these conversations, including me. Like I'm so bad at asking for what I deserve, and I'm trying to be better at building that muscle. But what did you do?
Yeah, I when I joined on deck, I was a bad negotiator, honestly. I didn't negotiate my offer really well, but I could say that at Squarespace, I did a little bit better job. Again, I'm improving over the years. I don't think I'll say that I'm a very good negotiator, but improved better than last time. So the toolkits, so I did multiple things. My first thing is usually going and going on Google, typing um, salary for X role at Y company. And then of course you would have Glassdoor come up. I think there is another company, I'm forgetting the name. Is it Pay Scales or something, which also shows, sorry?
Is it a blind?
No, not Blind is another one. I think there's a website very similar to Glassdoor, which is Pay Scales or something. It starts with P and have some pay in it. I'm forgetting the name. That also shows those comparison. Then I have used LinkedIn as well. Then I've used labels.fyi. The only challenge with that is that it only shows for very less, like limited companies, all the like fangs. So you would not get a very clear picture. And then Blind. So those were the multiple areas where I would actually go and Google. I'll see what's that range, what's the starting range, what's the end range, what's the bonus structure, what's the stock structure, and all those things. And I've made sure one thing which I would recommend to anyone is don't talk about your salary expectation until you have done the research, because if you say one salary, HR would note it down, and then it becomes a very difficult battle to change your expectations from there after your research. So I've always believed in like talking about the salary expectation part as late in the stage as possible. And if they're really hell-bent on those things, then I would have to do some research. I'll do a rough research, but not talk about it until the later stage. Those are the toolkits, or the places that I would go and understand what the ranges are and where do I fit, and then go about that.
I love that. I mean, I think I'll add on to your toolkit of next salary negotiation, H1B data. I think that's a great resource. Oftentimes, like I'll actually go there, and it's so transparent, and because all the information's right there. Just one disclaimer: it does not have any information about the RSUs or the stock options, so something to keep in mind. Uh, go ahead. You were going to
No,
say.
I would say I did forget that. Yes, 100%. That's also another go-to, because as you pointed out, it's transparent. The only thing you have to be conscious of, when was it, because it's usually only would have the salary at the time it was filed.
Yeah.
So it can be a little bit outdated. So you need to really see, like when you see the range, you just piggyback on this H1B data and then see that where that fits in.
Yeah, so all in all, I mean, make sure you're doing your research and checking all of these resources, and then arrive at a range, just so you go and equipped with a certain number, and then you go from there. But then, another thing that I wanted to kind of talk about is that everything is negotiable, like including your PTO, your RSUs, your base salary, your benefits package, everything. So guys, like for any of you who want to chat further, reach out to Anukrati, reach out to me, reach out to anybody in our mentorship circles, or both at Products by Women, also at General Assembly. I think this is a really important conversation. We have to kind of get together to make sure we level up. Um,
I'll
well,
also add one more thing, is
yes,
that if you have, by any chance, you have a friend who is into this, into the HR role, always help. I was with like one of my friend really like recently joined into that people role, and she was able to give some inside factor that, oh, you know what, everything is negotiable, this is how you have to talk. So I really got those coaching through one of my friend. And if you have any a friend who is in those kind of role, please leverage them.
yep, absolutely. And then my last prepared question is about, your first few days, right? First 30, 60, and 90 days. How can one really prepare for the first few months to be the best product manager that they can possibly be?
So I would say I was fortunate enough that my manager had already created my 30, 60, 90-day plan for me. When I joined Squarespace, it's like, okay, this is what I expect you to do in this 30 days. This is the result that I'm looking for. I would suggest reading all these things. Then I have a plan for 60 days, then I have a 90-day plan. So I was fortunate enough. It doesn't happen all the time. So if I was in that position, I would encourage for you to create that one. And for that, please, uh, there's a blog, there's W's blog, and one of the article is very much specifically on 30, 60, 90-day plan. Please look at that. That's one thing which really jumps out to me. And if you go on Medium and you search some of the 30, 60, 90-day plan, you would get so many articles. Please read through them. That can allow you to create one. So if your manager doesn't have one for you, create one for yourself. Share it with your manager. Set up those check-ins with him at 30-day, him or her, at 30-day mark, 60-day mark, 90-day mark. And those should be just normal check-ins. It should be in addition to your weekly regular meetings that you're already having with your manager, but those check-ins would allow you to how you're progressing. But before even joining the company, I would the way I prepare myself is I would have already researched for that company during the interview, but I think at this point of time I would go further more. I'll try to reach out to my manager beforehand. Can I start talking to the team? Can I understand, like, are there any meetings that I could do beforehand? I'll try to do as much research as possible, which I might not have done or gotten time during this interview. So
Yeah,
learning more and more about the company during that time.
that's awesome. And now those were my prepared questions. Brianna, I want to make sure that I'm giving you a chance to ask any questions if you have any before we take some questions that are incoming. Feel free to come on back. All right. maybe she's going to take a minute. But in the meanwhile, I see a very interesting question which came in here about resumes. Would you suggest having your resume professionally written, paying someone to edit it? Does it make a difference in the hiring process?
Um, Honestly, I don't know because I didn't use it. Um, However, the way I've done it in resume is that I'll have my resume ready. I would reach out to all my friends and my network, and I would actually ask them to review it. And that has always helped me out. But unfortunately, I really cannot speak to the professional services.
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who are looking for coaching, I mean, there are a bunch of people who you can reach out to through Products by Women. Firstly, the community. I mean, we definitely have a lot of valuable inputs coming in. Secondly, happy to share some information of like coaches and resume writers. So yeah, we'll send all of that information to you guys. All right. Like, what is the difference between a project manager and a product manager? I guess this is a question that a lot of people often ask. I mean, I've been through a situation where somebody's actually been like, it's all the same. I'm like, not really. It's very, very different. And in fact, don't ever go into a conversation or an interview saying that it's the same because you're going to be rejected almost immediately. But having said that, sometimes a product manager does have to wear those has to wear that hat as well of being able to project manage the in the in reality. But Anu, what do you think?
In so as you pointed out, of course, they're not same. And I think this is another myth that always come up. It's like product management is project management. It's actually not. Product manager goes beyond project management. Like your role could be 10 to 20% of project management. Yes, definitely. Like you would be involved in the sprint planning. You would be really tracking the deliverables. You would be managing the expectations of the team, of stakeholders, 100%. So I would say 10 to 20%, yes. And I think that's where the product manager role is like percent of every different kind of role that you could get into. It's like that's where you have to wear multiple hats at multiple different stages. But yeah, it's like just 10 to 20% of the project. Like that's the maximum I've seen. But if you see that you're being called as product manager, but you're doing like almost 80 to 100% of project management work, you're not doing product management, honestly.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. There's another interesting question about pivoting, right? Like speaking about pivots, um, how easy or difficult is it for anyone to pivot from a QA role to a project management roles? And have you seen some drastic pivots from, because I've seen people pivot from journalism. I've seen people pivot from marketing. I'm an example, guys. I pivoted from from marketing to product marketing, product management. So yeah, but what is your point of view?
So again, I've seen those pivot. I've seen a lawyer becoming a product manager. So I've seen those drastic, and I've seen iBankers becoming product managers as well. Um, so pivots happen. The pivot in question, which is QA into project management, it's definitely possible. And I think at that point of time, you need to have this conversation with your manager. Like, what are you trying to look do? Like, there would be a lot of transferable skills that you're already doing when you're in a QA role. And if you're not, you can talk to your manager. Like, I want to take those responsibilities so that I can showcase that. And I would want to transition. So I think it's a conversation that you can start having within your company and start transitioning. But again, pivot from one role to another is definitely possible, provided there's not much difference in degrees. Like for instance, I can't become a lawyer because I don't have a law degree. So there are going to be some of the transitions which are impossible, or you need to actually go and get a degree to make it possible.
Yeah.
But there are multiple roles which are definitely possible.
That's awesome. And then there's another interesting question about the difference between a technical program manager and a product manager. Okay, this is an interesting question. Now, I can see the lines getting a little blurry.
Yes. Not again, not really, but So I think there's a big difference. Like when people
Yeah.
talk about program management and project management, what's the difference? Project management is like very much like laser focused. You're just
Yep.
doing one project at a time. But when it comes to program management, you would be handling like a one program, which would be multiple different projects, and the scale would be like really large. It's still a version of project management, I would say, but it's the scale at which that you're working.
Yeah. There's an interesting question that Anjali asked. What are some questions to ask yourself if you're really interested in product management or buying into the hype in tech?
Oh wow. Okay, this is definitely interesting. Uh, if you so one thing again, which is very much related to the myth. If you are going that you would have an authority over your product, you would be able to do everything that you wish to do for the product. Please don't join product management. I, I I would say that's that. Like, what is it that you're trying to get into product management? But if it's just for the hype, then you have to really ask something around like, what is it about the product management? Like, talk to more people. Like, what do they do? Do you like the day-to-day thing? Like, you'll be on all day meetings. It can be really stressful. There would be times that you'll be frustrated that nobody's listening to you. Like, are you okay with those kind of things? Are you okay in working in ambiguity? Like, ambiguity is the biggest thing, that you would not know what you're working on. Is it the right thing? Is it the wrong thing? Are you okay in working through those things? um, I would say those would be the thing. Like, there could be n number of questions, but those are the two big ones which really comes to mind. Which would be that. um, and again, are you ready to do what it takes to be a good product manager? Would be like managing expectations, having really good communication skills, ability to influence. It's a lot of work, and if you're ready to invest that much time in your career, definitely.
That's awesome. I do want to give everybody a chance to kind of raise their hand. And Brianna, if you have any question, if you're, yeah, feel free to jump in.
Yeah, a question that I get from folks a lot when they attend a General Assembly event or some of our workshops is there's this, question like of I need to get the experience to get the job, but I need the job to get the experience situation. What advice do you have in for those types of questions?
I think that's a good one. When you know where you want to get to, I think it's about making that plan, being really conscious, and then try to see that what skills you need to showcase. Every role have a lot of different roles have those transferable skills, and really identifying those transferable skills it's important. When you identify that, and if you really think that those are missing on your resume at that point of time, go talk to your manager and say that you want to work on so and so things. I've seen one thing is like, asking is the answer to everything. Like, until you ask, you will not get it. So if you're really looking to transition into role, understand what does it take to be in that role, to be ready for that role, what are those transferable skills are, and then working to get those transferable skills.
Are you saying to ask for what you want? What a crazy concept.
I know.
No, I mean, sometimes you just need a little nudge or someone awesome to tell you to do it. I love that.
That's awesome. Yeah, Anu, do you see any question that you specifically want to kind of respond to? I think I covered most of it. I just want to make sure
Yeah, I see one question is how do you build leadership skills in your current role to transition to a PM role? Um, I think this is interesting. Like, when you're in a PM role, you're technically in a leadership role itself. It's just that scale is completely different. But getting those opportunities around taking a lot of initiatives around that, what you think that you can bring into your team. So leadership is all about portraying that you can see the big picture. You can connect the dots between different disparate things. Like, a product manager could be called a very good product manager when he or she does a really good job in its own product area. But really showcasing the leadership skills happen when you're able to understand the different product areas owned by other product managers, and then how you can collaborate and provide more and more impact to your company and to your product. And I think as you take those initiative, that could be one way. The second could be by if leadership is more around looking at big picture, like showcasing what you learned about users, your user problem, and hypothesizing that what different things you could do. Presenting and having that presence also is also part of the leadership skills. So having that presence through presenting in town halls or any department wide or big scale presentations could be another one which I could actually suggest.
Yeah, speaking about that, how can one, especially someone in their early career, showcase their newly acquired PM skills on their resume without prior related experience? Also, what are some ways someone can actually build those skills? I mean, it's again that same question that Brianna asked about the chicken and egg situation. I mean, do people start volunteering? How can you showcase it on your resume? Any thoughts on that?
I would suggest doing some side project. I know everyone talks about it. People say, "Oh, it's an overkill. I don't have time." But I think side projects do help. Of course, you will not be able to achieve all the things. Like you will not be able to get to that implementation stage. Like you need an engineers to build out that product, but you can at least go and identify a user problem. You can really showcase your skills as that how did you identify that problem? Why do you think it's important? How did you go about solving it? And I think that is itself is a really good skill. And also, how would you keep tracking it? Like really digging into those product metrics and everything. I think those could be some other a side project I've seen. I was really impressed by some people when I was trying to get into product management. Like they would go and critique different product design. That would actually showcase your UX design skills. That are you able to critique the product in the right way? And I think there are multiple different ways. So I would say those could be the two ways that if you're not able to get it in your current role, get out of your current role, outside of your work. What other things that you could do? Side project. I think partnering with Namisha and presenting your skills and those kind of thing. I would say those could be the other ways.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, if anybody wants to kind of show off their product skills, reach out to us and we'll be happy to share your journey or anything that you've been working on. Happy to do that. There's another question that Anjali just submitted. What do you recommend for those who need training to learn the fundamentals of product management but have super demanding jobs that lend them little time? Okay, I can start with that. Anjali, if you really are keen on doing that, you need to make time. That's number one. Like you have to find that time. And I think that's the most important thing. But Anu, what do you have to say?
I think there's no compromise or an alternate for a time, honestly. Uh, I would say whenever you get time, watch videos. What I've seen is that when you're really busy and there's some household work that you're doing, or any like not just household, like any work that you're doing, you're walking, like listen to podcast, listen to YouTube videos. There's some things you can do audio when you can actually like if you're doing any kind of monotonous job work which doesn't require you to pay attention, please listen to those YouTube videos. There's so much material out there for you.
Yeah. Speaking about listening, any podcast that you're listening to right now, any that you recommend?
um, I'm really bad at that, honestly. Listening to podcast, the one thing which really jumps out to me is Master of Scale, which I always listen. I'm usually when I go into podcasts, I usually listen more from the strategy perspective,
Yeah.
the industry trends perspective. So I usually listen to the Masters of Scale. Then I listen to, whenever I get time, the A16Z
Yep.
podcast, the venture stories. So it's mostly around those. Um, if they're very much related to product management, nothing jumps out to me right now because I can't recall, but I can always find and send it across.
Oh yeah, that would be great. And I agree with you. I think I listen to, I mean, podcasts, but usually my podcasts, I mean, if you guys can see this, but like it's stuff like Happiness Lab, On Purpose, Woke Desi, A Slight Change of Plans, and then there's the McKinsey podcast, The Anxious Achiever, Products by Women, NPR. Yeah. So guys, like, I mean, and then how I built, what is that? How I built that? Yeah. That's
Our
a good one.
business. Yeah. I would actually also say audiobook, right? Like if podcast is not there, there are a lot of books which are on product management, like on different aspects of product management, I would say, which you can read, and like audiobook could be the way to go.
Yeah, 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 absolutely. I mean, there are so many resources out there. Just go to the podcast store and type product management, and I'm sure you'll get some amazing, episodes and podcasts as such. Yeah, I mean, with that, we have about 20 minutes. And let's see if there's any other question that's coming in. Does anybody want to talk? Feel free to raise your hand. I'm happy to unmute you. And yeah. But while we have incoming questions, what have you been doing through COVID? Like how have you been spending your downtime? What do you do to unwind?
So I picked up my hobby of playing computer games. I know it's not fun, but it's very good. But I picked up a computer game which I used to play when I was child and like when I was young. I picked that up, and then I usually do painting on my free time. Those are things, and then yes, cooking and baking. That was my. So it has been trending very differently. I started with cooking and baking when it's like peak time. Everybody was trying to cook different things, so I did that. Then I was doing painting side by side, then going into computer games. So it's been like sinusoidal, like changing here and there.
That's awesome. Okay, so Amna is here. Amna, feel free to kind of unmute yourself.
I have a question more that is more of a, I would say, think of it as a long-term career road mapping question. And my question is that, so let's say, you're PM and you're aspiring to some sort of corporate leadership role. So what is a typical next role for a PM? Like you could be, head of product, or I've seen some people go into venture and just leave the operator role. What are some typical paths post this role if you look towards bigger leadership roles?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So it could be multiple different ways. It could be the head of product, which is a CPO, C-suite level role as well. It could be a CEO role as well. I've seen a lot of product people really getting into CEO roles. I've also seen like venture capital, but then for venture capital, what I've seen is it's getting more tough. It's getting tougher and tougher over the years to get into that, and for that, you need to have a lot of product management skills, and they also look for a very unique kind of product management skills. So you have to really see what's okay. I've not done any research, so I really cannot speak to it. Then in some companies, a product role could also be COO role as well, depending on the type of company. You can also get into the general management. So there are like a lot of different avenues that you can actually get into from product management.
Yeah, and I think I'll just add on there, to your question, Amna, about the operator in residence. A lot of venture capitals are opening up these roles, so keep an eye on that. And if there's anything that comes along, we'll make that information available in our Slack channel. So for all of you here, we do have a Slack channel. You can find that information on our website, or we'll send out that email. So do keep an eye on that, or follow us on Instagram, so you have all the latest information there. Anjali, you had a question. Feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, thank you. I wanted to dovetail off of my previous question in the chat, which was about, how do you find the time to dedicate towards becoming a better product manager or pivoting? I think what I'm currently experiencing is I do have a very demanding job, and I'm in a position where I'm at a crossroads where do I decide to just leave my job and go into something like a boot camp, or like what's the trade-off over there that you need to decide as to what's a good decision for you to make? At what point does the cost of doing a boot camp or some sort of intensive program outweigh the benefit of staying employed?
The first thing which really jumps out to me when I think about that is, even in your demanding job, the first question is, are there any skills, transferable skills that you can really talk about?
Many.
And then, sorry. do you
No,
have?
no, that's okay. Sorry, I thought you were asking me, but please go ahead.
Yeah, so that's first question. The second question I would say is look into bootcamp and then really go into that. What are they going to do? What I have seen is that many of these boot camps, courses, the full-time courses really start from basic, and then they're really many times at a surface level, and sometimes they're not worth it. Like I'll give you an example. My brother didn't had a very mechanical engineering background, so he was into like a engineering procurement company, which is nowhere close to any tech role, nowhere close to product management. And he decided to join product school, and he had like I had provided all the resources to him, like reading all the blogs and asking him to go through Medium, reading through like Udemy courses, and really getting the crasher course on these product management. That really helped him to go into that. The only benefit that actually product school provided was working on that side project and providing those case studies, which wasn't available through that. Like, so it's that the only thing that bootcamp would provide you is as a plan. If you are self-motivated person who really doesn't need a plan to be provided to you, I think bootcamp might not be that beneficial. But if you need that forcing mechanism, all in all, yes. So I think it's the idea of that. How do you learn the best way? Do you need a forcing mechanism? Then all in all, please put in time and go for bootcamp. But if you're a self-motivated person, I would actually say I've seen that it doesn't, like, it's not that beneficial. Like they talk about all the I've seen many times the another benefit I've seen that helps is the network. So the network you will not get as a product management, but you can get through those things. Like all these courses like product school, general assembly, and all these things, what they would provide is the network of other product managers. So they could help in getting you recruited, help you understand. You will always have a mentor. So I think those are the benefits. But if you already have a network of your own, I think it's a trade-off at that point of time.
Thank you.
I love that advice. And I think just one other thing you need to think of is after the boot camp, what does your career progression really look like? Ultimately, I think these boot camps, what they offer you is one, like, Anu just mentioned, is a structure, a side project, and a community, right? Those communities are accessible now across various other communities. There's Own Trail, there's Products by Women, there's so many other communities. Which offer the same resources for like absolutely nothing. So think about it. And also like career progression. I mean, think about that hard. Like okay, you become a product manager, what's next? And is the boot camp, course enough for you to progress to a leadership role? Think about that as well. All right. So the next person, Annie, feel free to unmute yourself.
Hi, Anne. Sorry.
I can get you. Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, so one, small world. I just gotten into product at my small fintech startup that I'm at after working there for about 4 years. And my founder and CEO and direct manager is the founder of On Deck. So I am really, I found myself in love with product. It's not it was kind of also by chance, and it wasn't a plan, but it's now, I feel like I was looking my whole life. I'm in my 30s for my dream career, and I can't get enough of it. It's all I want to do. It's read and study, and I'm reading all the books. I'm taking, and for those of you asking about classes, I agree about the boot camps, but I am taking I found that Coursera's classes are really great, and through grad schools. But so my question is, we had to pivot we've pivoted during the pandemic, and are doing it's exciting work now. But I am, as a new product person, I'm also having to kind of build up the product team from almost nothing, because our founder and CTO were kind of doing product along with so many other things because we're such a skeleton crew. I'm kind of the strategy and growth side of product, and I'm teaching myself so much as far as data and user stories and journey mapping, everything. What would you say would be the kind of fundamentals I need to focus on?
Okay. As a new product person who's pivoting into like as a company, you're pivoting into different product. One of the big thing I would say is understanding your customer, understanding a user problem, and really reading about those UX, anything related to those user experience, how to really identify those problems, how should you hypothesize. I think I would recommend that, because all those user stories and all those day-to-day things you can actually learn on the job. But what would set you apart from other product managers, it would be like, how do you identify the right problem that you should look at? What is happening? What's the emotional aspect behind those problems? So there are multiple different frameworks that are out there. One of the one is Jobs to Be Done. There are many other.
I just ordered that book. It's not here yet, but yes, it's perfect.
Awesome. I would say that's a really good book. And there are many other books that I would say. With that, please follow people on Twitter. I follow a lot of people on Twitter who are in product world. And then I really try to learn a lot from them. And that's my like holy Bible kind of thing. Like I always go back to those resources all the time. But yes, I would say in the start, the way you could actually is like, are you able to come up with the hypothesis behind those problems so that you can solve those problems? Because all other things can happen on a day-to-day job. You can learn through those things.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Great advice.
I'm loving everybody's comments that's coming in about like study circles. And guys, we've not done it in a while, so we will be resuming with all the interest coming in. We will be resuming our study circles and putting together a study plan. So as many of us possible, we can go into the new year trying to be product manager. I mean, if you're an aspiring product manager, and if you are already a product manager, level up from there. In the interest of time, we're going to take one question, the last question from Shraddha. And for those of you we were not able to get to your questions, please do connect with Anu after this, and we'll share all that information. So don't feel like you have to do everything right now. But Shraddha, feel free to unmute yourself and ask your question.
Sounds good. Thank you, Naimisha, and thank you, Anukrati, for sharing your experiences. It's definitely very nice. This is the first for me that I'm joining in. It's super helpful. So I'm an operations analyst at a startup called Spocket, and I got to work on a project as an acting PM earlier this year within the company. And I did the whole thing, like discovery, user interviews, worked with the designer, the whole shebang, and it's really an amazing work. I mean, I fell in love. And after that, I kind of, took a deep dive into learning more about it. So read books, did Udemy courses, all of the things you mentioned. I'm in Canada. And so I've been applying for about 6 months. And I would say I hate to be so transactional about it, but I think the biggest challenge for me at this point is just getting an interview. Because when you talk about somebody that's a problem solver or how you have transferable skills from your previous roles, even if you fit the bill, I just feel that because it's such a coveted field, so many people are applying, so many people are reaching out to product managers everywhere. It's definitely slow. So I'm just curious, in terms of getting the first step, which is getting in front of somebody where you can explain how you fit the role, what do you think are ways, aside from really just applying on the company website, where you can really show what you've done without, kind of having to write 20 paragraphs about it, if that makes sense?
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. And I've heard those scenarios and situations as well. And of course, this is an unfortunate situation because it has become so much popular and there's so many, and because of pandemic as well, everybody is looking for job and it has been the most difficult time for people to find, to recruit and find jobs. So I understand your concern. Um, I would say if there was a project that you worked as a product manager, feel free to highlight that in your resume very explicitly that you were a product manager. It could have just one bullet that you really worked on, but you did work on it. So I think um, so the way you, and again, I'm just making an assumption because that's what gets talked about in the online world where, oh, how HRs are actually seeing your resume, that there is a system that you need to have some keywords and everything. So if that's true, and which is true to some extent, but I really cannot speak to 100% because I'm not that role. But if that's what it is, you need to have those highlighted in your resume. So as soon as you say that, you know what, this was the last project I worked as a product manager, so you can actually put on your resume that you were working as a product manager there. That could actually bring in, if it's only to get to that, at least that would allow you to get some HR rounds. And that would allow it's like how long that project was. Like if it was 1 year, like that's a 1 year experience. If it was 6 months, it's a 6 months experience. Start highlighting if there are any other side projects that you worked on. Start highlighting those. Highlight those on LinkedIn. LinkedIn has become a very popular place where actually recruiters reach out. So you need to make sure that your LinkedIn has all the things that you're doing, what courses you have taken, what you're learning, have your own summary there. So those could actually help in getting that, I would say, showing up in those results, search results. So I think that could be one of the things. Reach out. I would say join these kind of networking sessions, see if anybody's recruiting, reach out to them specifically. There are many people who are very much open in recruiting people from other roles who doesn't have product manager. Like I've seen in my previous company where managers were open to like, oh, you were a lawyer, like that's okay, but you can talk about product management. You can really talk about what your role was and how it actually transitions into product management. That also speaks a lot to you. So in those cases, those one-on-one interaction can help. But to get through those just application, then it has to be more around your resume and optimizing your LinkedIn to get into the search.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you. And sorry, it's just a quick follow-up. So, in terms of, so as a product manager, I'm just wondering, do you quantify the financial implications of your projects?
Yeah, definitely. I think that's very much important. If you really cannot speak to your impact that your projects are driving, then you really don't know how much you have been successful. So it's very much important thing.
Okay, makes sense. Well, thank you.
You're welcome, Shraddha. I mean, Anu, really thank you so much for your time. I just want to sum it up. I mean, with everything that we spoke about just now, especially, I think, speaking about like trying to find a job in product or pivoting into product, make sure your resume is ATS enabled. I mean, if you aren't working with someone, there are enough TikToks and YouTube videos out there. You can learn from there. Feel free to critique it with our community. Happy to do that. Reach out to communities like Products by Women or anything else that's out there where people are helpful. Go and meet people, and not, if not in person, like virtually, like go, chances are you'll find a job through networking, instead of just submitting your resume to LinkedIn, a LinkedIn black hole. The job market is really hard for product, to be honest. So if you're looking for a study circle, then we'll watch this space, and we'll definitely put something together. And lastly, LinkedIn optimization. Make sure your LinkedIn is optimized, because there are recruiters out there who are looking for talent. And yeah, with that being said, we have a few live hiring events which are coming up, and a bunch of other events, including debunking product management, which is coming up. You can connect with mentors. We have a bunch of other opportunities. Just reach out to us at info@productsbywomen.com. Follow us on Instagram. Check out our website. And feel free, please do reach out to Anukrati, reach out to me, connect with each other on LinkedIn, Instagram, everywhere. And with that, in the interest of time, I do want to close out this session. Anu, any last words? Brianna, any last words? Feel free to come in and close it out for us.
I would say thank you, Namisha, and thank you, Brianna, for hosting this event. And I enjoyed speaking on this event, and I'm always open to helping people. this was one of the way to really share. I've seen so many people struggling, and I've seen people looking for help to pivot into product management. Some people really enjoy, some people are questioning that whether that's the correct role. So any way I can help, I'm always open for that.
Awesome. I just want to say thank you so much to both of y'all for putting on this event and spending your hour, a little over an hour with us. Nimisha's going to be sending out an email with the follow-up, and a few people asked for upcoming workshops and that discount code. So I direct message y'all, but we'll also include that in that email. So keep an eye out, and would love for y'all to spend 2 minutes to give us some feedback on the survey that I posted in the chat. That would be really helpful. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night, guys. I'm going to leave this on for a couple of minutes so you can grab the survey. But other than that, bye. Have a great evening, Wednesday evening. We're over the hump, so that's great. Bye. See you.